What's up, Teabags? Unfortunately, this week's episode of the Terror Table ran into some technical difficulties, so the audio quality isn't what we usually would like it to be, and unfortunately, we just straight up lost some of the ending. But instead of abandoning the episode altogether, we thought we'd still put it out anyway. Hope you can enjoy it for what it is, and catch you guys next week on the Terror Table.
What's up, everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Terror Table, a horror movie podcast presented by the Saskatchewan Podcast Network. I am one of your hosts. My name is Mitch, and with me, as always, I have...
You got Kyle.
And...
Long Island Boozy.
We got... Are you Long Island Boozy or Island Boozy?
I want to be Long Island, because, it'll be a big island.
Okay. So
okay,
the bigger the island, the better the boy.
Exactly.
Yeah, there we go. All right. Okay, well, we are here this week to discuss the latest horror movies, all the horror movies that we've checked out recently, and we're going to cap this thing off with a discussion on The Loved Ones, the Australian horror movie from 2009. So we will get into that in the main feature. But before we start talking about stuff, do you guys want to hear a word from our sponsors this week?
I always want to hear a word from our sponsor.
The Saskatchewan Podcast Network is supported by Connexus. Wellness, however you define it, is achievable. You don't even need to figure it all out yourself. Talk to Connexus. They'll give you guidance, motivation, and the push you need to reach your goals. They've got you. They're your financial partner, and they know you can achieve your very best, your financial best. Prove them right. Start right at Connexus Credit Union.
All right, now let's get into it. Who wants to go first? Who wants to get the horror discussion going here?
Kyle, we missed you last week. Tell us.
Yeah, you haven't been here for 2 weeks. I can imagine your notepad is just bursting right now.
You guys are going to be so stoked on what I have to bring to the table today. So I see both your faces and you're kind of like on the edge of your seat. Hold tight. I'm here, and I'm here to tell you guys, I finished watching season 3 of You.
Oh boy.
And I can report now on all of the nutty hijinks that goes on in that horror classic, You Season 3, available on Netflix right now, featuring Gossip Girl star Penn Badgley.
Yeah, he was in something that wasn't Gossip Girl that he was famous for, wasn't he? I always get him and the Clockstoppers guy mixed up.
Fuck, I wish.
Another Clockstopper show.
I could have used more Clockstoppers in You Season 3. You Season 3 is one of the most insane things I've ever seen. I was in the minority on this show where I actually hated the first season. I think everybody liked the first season. And then I kind of liked the show as it got more insane. It makes absolutely no sense at this point. Any kind of murder mystery or true crime-ish element that was maybe once in this show does not exist anymore. It's really off the rails. However, the reason I want to bring it up and have brought it up, because I did mention earlier, I would say my final thoughts when I finished watching it, is that it actually has some really terrifying moments in it. There's some straight up how would I put it? Home abduction type stuff in this series that is actually pretty good. There's some stuff in here that is pretty terrifying, especially when it introduces some specific new characters into the show. People who've seen this season probably know what I'm talking about. But if you're with me on this, please go watch You Season 3 and tell me what you think of the last episode, because I think that might go up with Twilight Breaking Dawn Part 2 is one of the most batshit insane things I've seen in cinema. And yeah, this is cinema. You Season 3 on Netflix now, starring Penn Badgley and Hilary Duff. Sorry?
Wait a second. Hilary Duff is in it?
I don't know. It's some other girl, but she looks exactly like Hilary Duff. So as far as I'm concerned, it's H Duff. Sorry?
As far as you were concerned, that was Hilary Duff, and no one was going to tell you otherwise.
Yeah, I was wearing stuff by Duff the whole time, and I was stoked.
So you're not talking about Guinevere, are you?
Sure, I don't know. She looks like Hilary Duff.
Okay, well, there's no one in the world who looks like Hilary Duff, because she is one in a million. Scott Speedman is in this show now? What?
Yeah.
Shout out Scott Speedman.
Yeah, shout out.
I brought this up
need-
actually last time I talked about the show.
You need to give me the saucy details here. What about it is, because like I know what you're talking about with this finale. I've actually seen Breaking Dawn
Okay.
Part 2 or whatever. So where are we going with it? Like I understand the reference here.
Okay, so basically, I'll put it this way: I was actually shocked at where the show went. For as by the numbers in the way as like crazy the show becomes, I was just surprised at the angle they decided to go with, and it really just threw me for a loop. And I kept going from hating the show to loving the show, and basically on that last episode, I love this show. So I'm a You stan. I am now an official Netflix original series stan. So if you guys want to know more about You, if you guys even want to like hit me up on your personal feelings on You season 3, please feel free to do so. I think you guys should watch this.
Oh, this turnaround is
I've seen the first season
fantastic.
and a half.
I
I think
you got.
Boozy would for sure like the first season.
To me, the
If
first
it's
season was
about
like
stalking, then I'll love it.
there's not as much stock. Well, wait, I shouldn't say that. There's definitely stalking, but the first season I would describe it as we get it. The other seasons, it's like, oh, okay, and I'll leave it at that.
Okay.
So there it
That's
is.
the
You
most
season 3.
Valley Girl review of 2 seasons of a show.
Yeah.
On
All
brand.
right. So season 3 of You. Kyle says absolutely. Check it out. Boozy,
Please.
what do you?
I'm going to knock off a series, first of all, that came highly recommended. So I watched Midnight Mass. I finished the last episode last night, Mike Flanagan's Midnight Mass. What a fantastic show. I really liked the direction it went in. All the characters, it's great with a series like that. We always want fleshed out characters, and I feel like even some of the peripheral characters got enough that when it changes pace and goes into its final arc, it is kind of depressing to watch. But overall, super cool. I loved the lore of it. I loved the kind of skewed message. It wasn't entirely black and white. You had characters with very dynamic ranges of interests and views, and it's kind of funny to see what happens to them in the end.
Yeah. No, it's a wild show. Definitely one of my
It's a
favorite things of the
depressing
year.
ending.
What's that?
It's a very depressing ending.
It's very depressing, but it's also beautiful. Like I don't know, I found it really beautiful. Especially, yeah. I'm not gonna spoil anything for people, but you know what I'm talking about now when I say that like Flanagan basically wrapped the conversation on religion.
Yeah, that was
Like
pretty fucking gnarly.
you really dropped the mic, but the Mike Flanagan, if you will. Hey,
Yeah, there it is. Okay.
yeah, no, that's awesome. I'm really happy to hear you checked it out and you loved it, Boozy. That's great.
Yeah.
Cool. I got a bunch of stuff to talk about today, so I'm gonna just start knocking it off. But I'm just gonna quickly throw it out there. I'm not even gonna do a full review of it because Kyle already mentioned it on one of the episodes. But I finally checked out Shang-Chi. I've had some major Marvel fatigue. Honestly, Marvel, Star Wars, everything. I've just kind of gotten like, there's too many shows, there's too many movies, and I've never been the guy to complain about either of those things. But holy shit, was Shang-Chi a breath of fresh air? Like, good God, that movie ruled. Like, I loved it.
Right? Isn't
I
it
had
awesome?
such a good time
It's
with
funny
it.
you say that. Like I'm almost the opposite right now. I'm kind of on a Marvel kick right now.
Well, I'm thinking that it's about to just start getting even better because they're at least switching it up enough. Like Shang-Chi's different enough from other things. And I know like you've seen Eternals. I still haven't seen Eternals, but I like that they're just not doing the same formula anymore. That being said, I did catch up with Black Widow right after, and that's just like Formula 101.
Yeah, that's right. That's true.
Did not love Black Widow. I think if it would have came out 10 years ago, I probably would have.
Totally.
But when you have Winter Soldier and like Civil War and all those other movies, it's like Black Widow's reduced to just a couple cool scenes. Like, I don't know, I think it could have been a lot better. But also, I just watched Shang-Chi and I loved it.
And it's just nonstop fun. Like you just have a big
Yeah.
grin on your face the whole time.
You like everyone. Like, I even like the villain. Like, I like the villain and I sympathize with them. And I don't know, I thought it was great. And I'm going to watch that movie again. I thought it was just wicked. But onto horror. I checked out The Deep House from 2021. So this is a new underwater haunted house flick. So
Okay, I
it's
need
set
to hear
around.
about this. This has been all over my list all year.
Yeah. So it's set around a couple of YouTubers who investigate haunted houses, and they do a deep dive search into a famous house that was washed away by a flood, and which is kind of eerie since I don't know if you guys have been keeping up with the news about what's going on in BC, but half of BC is underwater right now. It is
Right.
terrifying.
Yeah.
I get here and all of our highways going in and out collapse. Like there's no way to get out of here by car or foot right now. It's pretty scary times. They just announced a state of emergency today. We're recording on the 17th of November, so it's pretty eerie. It's scary. Like the whole place, like where Antlers was filmed, it's underwater right now. It's crazy. Very sad. Yeah, very sad. There's still dumb fucks out there who don't believe in global warming, so that makes it even scarier. Not good times. But the Deep House, it's like Atlantis meets Paranormal Activity.
Oh.
It's nothing like Atlantis. It's just based underwater. But
okay.
So imagine the water from Atlantis,
Right.
but in Paranormal Activity.
Yeah, so I'm talking about two found footage movies today. Like this one has it's heavily rooted in found footage, but it's also, I think it cheats a lot. It doesn't overly work in that way. Like I think that the found footage elements kind of got away from them a little bit. But with that being said, like the sets in this thing are so damn impressive, and there's just no way to fake it. They filmed this entire fucking thing underwater. Like it's like a marvel to look at and to see how they pulled this off. Like just for that and that alone, I recommend checking out the Deep House. I think that there are some scary moments. There's some spooky shit, but it's one of those things that you're never gonna, be scared about the house that's underwater unless your house is underwater. So it's like it's not overly scary. There's some really cool moments where they're building tension, but you know what I mean? I don't know, I guess that's,
Do not tempt fate. You're talking about how Vancouver's going underwater, and you're like, you'll never see a water house.
I'm baby.
Where did they actually? Do you know where they filmed this? Like, how do you find a set like that?
Yeah, I'm looking at it.
They had to have just built it and then submerged it, and like there's a thing to those. Like, there's a lot of it where, you like if the opening couple scenes of Titanic taught us anything, it's that when you go in and you start investigating that, there's like all of the lamps and stuff they're floating and all the different objects. You go into this house and everything's like glued down. So there's some paranormal shit afoot. But I don't know. I just think it's really cool. I'm going to look up where it was filmed, actually.
They're like, ooh, we used Flex Seal.
Yeah, they did it in France. And I don't know. I just thought it was pretty damn cool. It's not one that I'm kind of forgettable, if I'm being honest. Like, I think there's some good enough moments in there. Maybe we've just been spoiled with a lot of great horror movies lately and just in general. But I at least liked that it tried something a little bit different, even if it does fall victim to a lot of your standard found footage tropes. But like, I just think that the environment and the concept is fresh enough that it's just downright impressive to let those semi-annoying moments just kind of be able to, like, there's some annoying moments because you don't know what the hell's going on, because in any found footage movie there's always the shaky cam, and when something happens, that's kind of annoying, and it's getting more and more annoying as the years go on, because it's like, all right, if you got to resort to this, let's try find a different tool, let's try find a different way to tell this scare or this story. And I don't know if they fully figured that out with this one, but it was cool. And it's a cool little flick. Gave it a 3 out of 5 on Letterboxd, so it's like, I didn't hate it, didn't love it, but it's one that I definitely recommend checking out. I think, Boozy, you'll definitely take something away from it just because you're a fan of this kind of stuff in general.
This has been on my list for so long. It's such a niche idea too.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So
yeah, it really is.
Kyle, do you have anything else you want to talk about this week?
I'm bone dry. Just you three, baby.
Us two, you mean? Oh, you three. Okay, got it. Yeah. Well, how about I knock off another quick one and I'll pass it back to you, Boozy. Do you have a lot of stuff today?
I have 2 more.
Okay, I think, I have the most. I'll go with my other found footage flick that I watched. So despite Boozy's hesitation on your kind of lukewarm review last week, I checked out Paranormal Activity: Next of Kin.
Oh baby.
Right, William Eubank.
Oh boy, is this thing shit.
Oh man.
It was
Well, let's not mince words here.
yeah, like this just ain't it's just ain't a good movie. Like I don't know.
What a bummer.
Yeah, it was a total bummer. I don't. It's one of those things where it's like you had to have this had to have been just like a different story that they decided to slap the Paranormal Activity name on. Like and that happens a lot. But at the same time, it does tie into the other ones. And I don't know, man. I just think when it comes to found footage, like I prefer my found footage movies to be as least glossy as possible. Like I don't like a lot of gloss, and I understand that like the day and age that we're living in, we have new technology, we have new cameras, like people have 4K on their phones now. So there's going to be different ways to capture this kind of stuff, but it's really just becoming detrimental to the actual scares in the story. And I found this movie to be honestly pretty boring, which is one of the worst offenses when it comes to a horror movie. And I know a lot of people have that opinion about the Paranormal Activity movies in general. I really loved the first three, and I still do. Like just because I remember sitting in that theater when the lights would go down, and then it was like a collective shudder with the whole group of people that you were seeing the movie with whenever it changed to nighttime, and you just don't have that in this anymore. And I don't know, like the 4K drone shots with EDM music playing over top, like it was just like old man Mitch was shrugging his arms a little bit. Yeah, I miss when the Paranormal Activity movies felt like haunted house simulations. Like that's what I like about this franchise, and I didn't get any of that here. And yeah, I don't know. I understand the more cynical viewpoints towards these movies in general, but I appreciate them for what they were, and the direction. If this is the direction they want to keep on going, I can't see myself continuing on. And yeah, I've just been burnt too many times. Like there's some
Okay,
really
what did you think of it in terms of actually tying into any sort of like it didn't feel like a Paranormal Activity. It could have had any other name. I didn't
yeah.
feel any real semblance
I'm
to.
pretty sure that like the main thing at the end is what is referenced in multiple other Paranormal Activity movies, but that could have just been like changed after the fact and been like, hey, let's call this so that it can be
Yeah.
That's what this seems like to me big time, honestly.
It,
I mean,
you
guys,
know,
I don't
like
know that
it
obviously, but
did feel very not heartless, but in terms of being a part of the Paranormal Activity universe, or supposedly, it has no connection other than name. Like it doesn't feel like it.
Yeah, and I don't know. I know some people have really enjoyed like there's like comedic relief. I don't recognize him from anything. I don't think I've seen him in anything, and it's not overly his fault that he's incredibly not funny in this. But yeah, not oh he's in Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Yeah, I didn't find any of that stuff worked, but I guess the collectively people seem to not really love this one, so I don't need to keep justifying why I didn't. But it just wasn't for me. I didn't enjoy it. And I don't know, I think the bigger that found footage movies try to be, the less I care. Like I want little contained stories for found footage. That's what I want.
Mhm.
I also realize that comes from I was just talking about a found footage movie that was underwater. That's not what I mean. I think when they're trying to tie it into so many different things, and it's got its hands in a whole bunch of pockets, and it's not pulling anything out. So yeah, and it was an extra big bummer just because we're all big fans of William Eubank here. Like Underwater was great. I really
Definitely.
liked his other movie, The Signal. I thought that movie was awesome. So I'm looking forward to seeing what he does next. I just hope it's not something like this. It just wasn't for me.
do you think that like we could like do you think there could be a iPhone found footage film that could be scary, or do you think we're just not ready to like do you think our like brains don't
Kyle,
find
I'm
that
pretty
scary
sure
yet?
there already is.
Well, I'm
Yeah,
sure there are, but like ones that are effective is what I mean. Like ones that's kind of like, oh shit, like this is as scary as like a shaky VHS tape. Because in a way, I feel like there's something about the aesthetic that is just inherently scary because it feels old. Does that make any sense? Like,
yeah.
I,
No,
I,
That's how I felt watching VHS, having
can
that.
see it. You can see it in like the VHS movies. They add so much of the distortion and the grain on the image, and like
right.
That kind of, and like the glitching, and like that's even getting old for me, where it's just like, hey, convenient glitching, convenient glitching. Yes, all
Yeah.
right. But at the same time, like some of my favorite movies fall victim to that, like Blair Witch Project. But that was one of the first of its kind, and I think people just there's got to be like that's what I really liked about Paranormal Activity 3 in particular, is that one introduced a lot of different ideas and different camera mechanisms and like devices that they can use to get scares out of people, like specifically the oscillating fan, even adding in the whole Bloody Mary scene. Like there's just little things that you can try. I do think that there could be a scary iPhone movie out there, and it's only a matter of time until Steven Soderbergh makes it.
True. I mean, there was what was that one film he did make in like a hospital?
Unsane.
Yeah, right. Unsane.
But I've heard it's good.
Anyway, I was just thinking about that. Like, I don't even think I'm sure like there probably, of course, could be like a technically a good film like that, but in a way, it's like almost like inherently like a kick in the leg almost. It feels like in a way.
Yeah, I don't know. Just and I wasn't a fan of Next to Kin, so that was kind of a bummer. Wasn't expecting much from it either. I didn't even know it existed until it showed up on Amazon. So I kind of like that, but almost every time that that's happened, where like a movie has just surprised us, it's always been bad. Shout out Cloverfield Paradox.
Right.
Oh,
But like, this, yeah, I don't know. It's just it's a whole bunch of nothing for me. It didn't get a reaction out of me. It just kind of annoyed me because in this day and age, I have so many other things I could be watching. I don't have as much time as I used to, so I think I'm becoming more and more bitter when I see these ones that don't really hit for me. But it's also my fault for going into Paranormal Activity 9 expecting something crazy.
and I didn't even give it a good review.
That's how
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, that's how you know.
That's how you know.
He did not heed any warnings.
No, see that's the thing though. There's certain things like that I'm always just gonna have to see for myself, and I think that everyone should be that way. Like I should never deter someone from wanting to check out Halloween Kills, even if I didn't love it. Just because if you're a Halloween fan, you should see it for yourself. That might have been a bad example because I didn't hate that movie, but yeah,
We know
Boozy,
what you mean.
let's
Yeah,
hear
but by
about
the same token, you wouldn't be like, "Hey, watch the Langoliers." So I feel like there can be that
I
conversation.
would say that if I really hated the person, and I have done that many times before, I've recommended really bad movies to people I don't like. So
That's your subtle digs at people.
it's kind of a thing I do. All right, Boozy, hit us with your last one, and then I'll hit you guys with another two.
I actually have two more.
Perfect.
So the first one I will cover, this is a Shudder film. It is 2020's Woe, WOE. This is directed by Matthew Goodhue and also written by Matthew Goodhue. And it's a brother and sister stumble upon their father's secret 1 year after his death. They soon learn that the secret may not be his alone. So this is it's a very heavy film. It is dealing with it's pretty much all it talks about. Whoa! It is how do I explain it? There's just this foreboding thing that lives with these two people, and it actually manifests itself as something, and it's about them trying to deal with this grief, and they're not dealing with it alone, and they're not dealing with it each other. So the issues just keep kind of growing and growing. This is a pretty cool film. Overall, I didn't think it was incredible, but I definitely think it's worth checking out. It deals with some heavier topics.
Nice. So if you want to get nice and depressed, watch Whoa.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds great. Do you want to give your last one?
Yeah. I'm just looking the year up for it. So this is a movie I've actually been looking for a long time. And I managed to find it on YouTube. So God bless. If you're ever looking for a movie and it's just literally nowhere, and even Letterboxd is like, I don't know, dude, go fuck yourself. Check YouTube because you'll find some hidden gems. So this is a documentary. It's not straight up horror, but I thought I should just mention a little bit because Mitch mentioned the Deep House. This movie is called Ben's Vortex. It's from 2012, and it's the story of this dude who disappeared going diving inside these caves where you can like pay to go in, like professional divers will go in. But there was like a whole bunch of shit happening in his personal life, and they never found him. So it's kind of this idea of they're trying to figure out if he's in this cave or if he's not, or if he got like killed by the mob. It's very interesting. There's a lot of layers to it, like Shrek. And I don't know. This is I know a lot of people probably wouldn't like these kind of things, but if you're in kind of niche films, this is interesting. It's about diving, so that was kind of my little tie-in there.
Cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've heard about this one. That sounds cool. Kyle, what do you think of that title card?
For Ben's Vortex?
Yeah. Like,
Accident, murder, hoax.
Yeah, it looks like it was done on paint, and I feel bad for them because it sounds like
Dude,
they put a lot
it was
of.
done by like his friend, like
Yeah, it just
so
you
it's
put a
very
lot of.
low budget, but I thought
You
it was
know,
cool.
Well,
I
it looks
think
like they put a lot of work into it if they're actually going underwater and everything. So it's pretty crazy.
they're probably too busy swimming to pick up a copy of Vista, so it happens.
It's true.
That is the most like correct statement ever.
Cool. So Ben's Vortex on YouTube.
On the Romine Design
I
channel.
wonder if there is anybody else out there who's giving recommendations to watch movies you can't find on YouTube. Just
Guarantee
there has to be.
Yeah, for sure.
That would be such an outdated podcast format because it would always get taken down. Like if you wanted to like review a film that's on YouTube, it'd be gone the week you release it.
Good. Okay, yeah, I got a couple more that I'm going to touch on. The first one is not a straight up horror movie, but I thought I wanted to mention it anyways because I want to see if you guys have seen it. Pretty sure you both have, but I watched all that Catching Killers Netflix series. It's like a 4-part series on like the catching of Gary Ridgway, Eileen Wuornos, and the
This is
Happy.
a documentary. I haven't seen this.
Yeah, it's on Netflix. It's like it's on the top 10. Yeah, like it was.
Okay. No, I haven't seen this.
But anyways, it's four episodes. One on Gary Ridgway, one on Eileen Wuornos, and then 2 on the Smiley Face Killer, the Happy Face Killer, whatever the fuck.
God.
Yeah. So after watching the Eileen Wuornos one, I decided to watch Monster again. I haven't seen Monster in a long time.
Oh.
Serial killer film. Charlize Theron.
Charlize Theron, yeah.
Christina Ricci and Kane Hodder. Kane Hodder, Jason Voorhees himself, catches Eileen at the end. So that's pretty crazy. Shout out our boy.
That's a rare face turn for him.
That's true.
I think like Aaron Kuntz told me that he was the one who put his name forward for that because Aaron's in the movie at some point. I didn't spot him, but apparently he's like in the background. Like,
cool.
Yeah, they were filming it where he lived. But either way, I grew up thinking this movie was a goddamn masterpiece. Like I loved it.
Yeah, I did too, actually.
I still love it. I still think it's great. It's one of those things though, when it started, like the movie started and I was watching again, I'm like, oh boy, this is not gonna age well. Like this is gonna be because you got Charlize Theron doing the like Goodfellas voiceover, being like, back in my day, I used to do this and this for a quarter and blah blah blah.
Right.
It's just like, okay, they're really gonna try and make us sympathetic for this serial killer, and it's narrated like Goodfellas. Okay, but yeah, as you continue on the journey, you realize that there is a place for sympathizing with these poor souls. Like people like Eileen Wuornos, I think she's one of the few serial killers that you actually can sympathize with, because her murder spree came from a place of real personal hell. If you know anything about Eileen, if anything, I think one criticism that I have is they could have dug a little deeper into what made her the person that she was. But I think that that's one of those things where they chose subtlety over going and doing the flashbacks. Like I know that for me the same thing can be said about Scott Cooper's Antlers. Like there's some people who feel that it's one of those things where they could have touched on more of the trauma, but it's like, or he just didn't want to go down that road because he figured you could pick up those pieces on your own. And it's like, obviously Eileen Wuornos was a pretty damaged person and a really tortured soul. But she's just fucking spectacular in this movie. She is so good. And Christina Ricci is also great. And even though I think if there's one criticism that I would have for it, it's that, like, theoretically, that's the only, like, they do such a good job at uglying up Charlize Theron and like, you know, getting her sunburnt skin, and like they make her look all old and damaged and like run down, and they make her look like Eileen, like she looks almost identical to her. And then you have Christina Ricci playing her love interest, and she's just like this cute little Christina Ricci, and it's like in IRL she's not, and it's like, but it's, I don't know. To me, it's like you went halfway there. Like you have a movie about Eileen Wuornos starring Charlize Theron, one of the most beautiful people on earth, and they really, you know, got her.
They went for it.
Yeah, I feel like they could have done that a little bit, even if they want to keep Christina Ricci, just, you know, do some of that magic to her as well.
And this would be an interesting one to watch again, because I haven't seen it in so long. But like, I loved this movie like growing up. Actually,
Yeah.
it was like a hit in my house. My whole family
enjoy growing up.
I don't know. I remember my whole family sat down and watched this, and we were all like, "Holy shit, this is like an intense movie!" Like
every Christmas, the Zervinskys sit down and watch Monster. Okay, I have a question. I can't remember how it ends. Does it go right up until she like gets executed?
No, not till she gets executed. They tell you that she gets executed, but they don't. Like they pretty much stop it when she gets caught.
Oh, so they don't have like Charlize Theron like screaming about how the antennas for the satellite is like giving her apocalypse vibes and shit?
no, not yet. That's in the sequel.
Like
That's in the
Eileen, what a
sequel.
character.
That'll happen in Monster 1984.
Yeah. Oh, there's tons of really good actors in this movie too. Like ones that the one that really hit me this time was Scott Wilson, who played Herschel on The Walking Dead. I think he played Herschel.
Okay,
anyway,
from season 2, right?
Yeah, but he's one of the victims, and it's like, man, that scene with him is just devastating to watch. Like, it's really sad. And Bruce Dern is just such a good actor. Prue Taylor Vince is also another, like, you feel bad for these dudes who are getting killed, you know, half of them, but that's kind of the point of the movie, is that, like, you know, she was very just in feeling the way that she was feeling, and after going through what she had went through, like, like, it would drive anybody insane to go through that kind of abuse. But it doesn't make it any less sad to just see these people die when they're just real sad fuckers who want to get blown in a car. So yeah, there's Monster.
There's that.
Written and directed by Patty Jenkins of Wonder Woman and Wonder Woman 1984.
That's just like Monster 1984. You know what I'm saying?
I love how the other, like, we've seen a woman take over the world in these films and save the world. Now make a serial killer film.
Exactly.
Kyle, I'm sorry I missed that joke. I heard you say 1984 Monster 1984 before. I feel bad.
It's okay. You know, usually geniuses aren't appreciated when they're alive. It's only after the fact that their their true artistry comes out. But it's fine. It's fine.
That's true. Okay, I'm going to touch on one last thing before we get on to the loved ones. So I watched the first 2 episodes of The Return of Dexter Morgan.
Oh, yeah.
Dexter New Blood.
Oh, right. I don't think we even talked about this, have we?
No. So I have no idea. Were you guys Dexter fans?
I've
Never
seen
watched
like 4 episodes, maybe.
Same.
I
I've
know
seen like
very
maybe
little
2
about
episodes.
Dexter.
Oh, see, that's surprising for you, Boozy, just because of like the concept and what it is. Like, it's got Boozy written all over it. But
Serial killer, gotta be Boozy.
Well, no, you love serial killer shit, and especially like when they have that internal monologue that I was just talking about in like Dexter.
It just felt really like, maybe this is just me making weird assumptions, but just watching it, it just felt like very fluffy and repetitive.
That's exactly.
Just like, it's like, we're gonna get the bad guys and we're gonna do stuff to them. I don't know. It's just.
Yeah, you figured it. You figured it out. That's exactly what it is.
And yet I watched Walking Dead for how many seasons? Maybe I should watch that.
Yeah, well, shout out first 3 or 4 seasons of Dexter. I think the last season that I would consider good was the John Lithgow season, the Trinity Killer, which is notoriously like the best season of Dexter. That's totally where the show peaks, and then that's only the halfway point. Like they just keeps going, and I felt like I'm happy that fans of this series have another whack at the absolutely unacceptable closure to that serial killer that everyone's rooting for, because like the ending of Dexter is notoriously one of the worst things to ever air on TV, and I agree with that. It's horrendous. Decade-old spoiler: Dexter becomes a lumberjack. He's in the woods.
Kind of hot.
Yeah, kind of hot right now. But the most positive thing to come out of this for me is that it takes like the flawed anti-villain that you're charmed into liking, and that was just unjustly fumbled somehow into Dexter becoming a lumberjack, into this great environment to watch this character fall into old habits. So that's the best thing that I can say about these first two episodes so far. Is I love the idea of Dexter being in this small mountain town, hiding out from everyone, and he just has a new life for himself, selling guns and cleaning guns.
Okay, so he is still a lumberjack.
I don't know if he was ever actually a lumberjack. Just the show ended with him wearing flannel cutting wood. So in the forest, like
so he could either be camping or a lumberjack.
It is so much worse than how I'm describing it too. Like, and I'm talking like there was full season. I watched every season of that show. And I know there's a lot of people who just felt that the last episode was the problem. No, I thought the last 4 seasons were like, it was like I was just waiting for it to turn around, and then I felt obligated to watch it till the end, because I was like, well, they have to either kill Dexter or he'll get caught. They got to do one of these things, and then they don't.
This show had like really good ratings all the way up to the end too. Actually, it started getting more popular, which is so strange.
Yeah, well, Nickelback is also very popular. Like, there's a lot of people there. People listen to them a lot. Imagine Dragons plays on the radio a lot.
Yeah,
well, I just mean that like you're not the first person that I've heard to say that the show just got the worse the longer it went on, basically.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I find that interesting.
Kyle, every day we live through another harsh reality where The Simpsons is still going and making new episodes.
That's right. Okay. Yeah.
Sorry, not to harsh in everyone's harsh brands.
No, that's fair. I try not to think about it, but you're right.
I try not to think about it every day.
Yeah, I just feel like Dexter in general, it's just like it's predictable drama. It's very predictable, and like the thing is, sometimes that's okay. Some people enjoy that. Not gonna lie, I'm gonna keep watching it. I didn't think that the first 2 episodes were bad. It's just one of those things where I think it came out. I started watching it as it was like airing. I think in season 1 or 2 is when I hopped onto it, and at the time it seemed so groundbreaking, because it kind of was. Like, this was at the, before that we had just had like The Wire and Sopranos, and both shows are obviously infinitely better than Dexter, but TV had grown a new life. Like, it had taken a new form by being able to have shows like this, and I really like Dexter the character, and Michael C. Hall, he's great, but he's the only, like, I figured it out, he's the only likable character in the entire series, and he's a serial killer.
Right, right.
So that's kind of
that's interesting.
But that's also the point. Like, it's like the show is dark comedy.
I was gonna say, like, it's a problem, but it's also maybe like what the show has. I haven't seen it, but like from my understanding, like that's what has going for it, though. At the same time.
It, yeah.
And
what does Michael C. Hall do outside of Dexter?
He doesn't Paycheck, so
he was in Games with Gerard Butler. He beat cancer.
Okay.
He was married to his sister Deb in the show Dexter, like Deb from that modern classic, The Exorcism of Emily Rose. She plays his adoptive sister in Dexter, and they were married for the first like 3 seasons, and then that's what I felt like the show just kind of became a running inside joke for the writers' room, and the rest of the world was just kind of supposed to sit there and take it. Like, there's a whole character arc where Dexter and Deb think that they want to fuck each other, and this is after they got divorced, and like they're brother and sister. Like, that's a whole arc in the show. Yes, she is his adoptive sister, but like I said on a couple episodes ago, that is still incest.
Interesting.
Which is something we regularly bring up, is the do's and don'ts. Just to be clear.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like Dexter New Blood is just gonna be good light watching for me when I'm on my lunch break, but at the same time, like I just mentioned before with, I think it was Paranormal Activity, where I'm like, I want to watch stuff that I want to watch now. So only time will tell if I keep going through with it. But I'm very happy for fans of Dexter that they're having another whack at this ending, because it really was a travesty. But I feel like the show just wasn't good for so long that it almost didn't earn its right to have another go at it.
But that also speaks to its how good it was that you're willing to come back after all this time, and the show's willing to come back after such a long period too.
In my dating record, I don't know when to leave.
Okay.
All right, let's move on. You guys want to go on to the loved ones?
Yeah.
I think that's a perfect transition. Yes.
All right, we'll see you guys on the other side when we talk about the 2009 Australian horror film, The Loved Ones.
Will you go to the dance with me?
I'm going with Holly. Guess who asked me to the dance?
Tell me, who is she?
I'll never tell.
Love hurts.
Pretty as a picture.
What are you looking at? Bring the hammer, Daddy.
This year's Queen of the Dances, Lola Stone.
There he is. It boils your brains and turns you into one of them.
Say happy.
Happy. Love
And welcome to our main feature presentation, where we are talking about The Loved Ones from 2009. This film was written and directed by Sean Byrne, a boy who has been celebrated ad nauseum on this program. He was also the writer and director of my favorite film of 2017, The Devil's
15.
Candy.
15.
I believe that was 2017. Either way, great movie, great filmmaker. And it's an Australian film. And the film stars Xavier Samuel as Brent. We have Robin McLeavy, who plays Princess, a horror icon, it absolutely should be. John Brumpton plays Daddy. And Richard Wilson, Jamie. I believe Richard Wilson is Kyle Zervinsky circa 2007.
I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it.
No, he was 100. Like, I was like, I've never seen myself in a movie so much.
Yeah, it actually hurt to watch that, to be honest. So
continue. Same haircut, same music taste.
Yeah, it was fucked.
Yeah, it's a very small cast, but a very memorable one. And the film tells the story of when Brent turns down his classmate Lola's invitation to the prom, she concocts a wildly violent plan for revenge. So, like I was telling Kyle, or I guess I was telling both of y'all in our group chat, that this was one of those movies that I was initially planning. I know I've said this so many times on the podcast, but this was definitely one of the front runners for one of the first 10 Terror Table episodes. Like, I wanted to do an episode on this one forever. And it's one that I guess I wanted to give some time, because right before we'd started the Terror Table, I just watched it again. And I haven't seen it until recently. I watched it at my friend Jarrett's. He runs a club here in Vancouver, and he has a big projector screen and like a DJ level like PA system. So the shit's just loud as hell. And it was him, his girlfriend Marky, and our friend Mike. and they were like, Mitch, we don't get scared from movies. Show us something that will actually scare us. And I landed on The Loved Ones. So I'll get into that in a little bit, but I want to hear your guys' thoughts, because obviously, being the one who recommended us do this episode, me leading off with a story like that, it's pretty clear I'm a big fan of this movie. But it is quite mean-spirited. So I'm curious to hear what y'all think. Let's start with Kyle. First time watch, Kyle?
This was my first time watching The Loved Ones. Although I'm a pretty big fan, I guess, of Sean Bryan. I liked or Byron.
Burn.
Burn.
Sorry, Sean Byrne. Not that big of a fan, clearly. But I liked The Devil's Candy. I didn't love it as much as you guys do, but I did enjoy it. I liked what it was going for. I really felt like it was a pretty like concise vision, and like there's films like it that when I think back on them, I almost don't remember anything about it. But this is definitely an outlier where like some of the imagery in that film is just completely shocking and memorable. Also a big fan of his work on The Secret, the self-motivational help film where he directed the dramatic sequences. For those who are wondering, The Secret is one of those things where you just manifest things into reality and it becomes a reality. So if you tell yourself you want a bike, you will get a bike in a week. Yeah, he directed that. So big fan.
Yeah, and you
No,
don't have to do any of your own
he
work
didn't
for it.
direct
It'll just
that.
happen.
He directed some of the reenactments, but
Which are the most memorable parts of that fucking thing. So
you know that the guy who wrote The Secret's a serial killer, like he's a murderer, right? Like, do you guys know about that? Like, I just watched
He's also
he killed people. But because he was taking them on retreats, and he killed a bunch of people in one of those sweat lodges. I believe it was a sweat lodge, like where they go to the top of a mountain and they like light hot coal.
No
Yeah,
fucking
it's
way.
savage. Yeah, that's him. And he just got out of jail again. Like, The Secret is one of the worst fucking possible things. The Secret was a precursor to COVID. Like, it brought out all the dumbest fucks in our society.
Kind of true though. I know what you mean. I actually I know what you're like trying to say. I get it.
I'm pretty sure all of our moms had a copy of The Secret somewhere.
Well, that's the thing. That thing always freaked the fuck out of me. Anyways, when I saw on his IMDb page that he worked on that, I was like, holy fuck, this is crazy. What are the chances of that? Anyway, so shout out. But no, first time watching The Loved Ones. I've seen the cover of this movie a million fucking times though. Like probably even it would have been in Blockbuster for sure. Like the tail end, I guess, of the Blockbuster years. But yeah, like I definitely saw this around a lot. And you folks have mentioned it before, but honestly, I didn't know a single fucking thing about this movie. I went in as blind as all hell. And really enjoyed it. In fact, I would say I like this more than The Devil's Candy if I had to compare the two, personally.
I agree. And The Devil's Candy was my favorite of that year.
Yeah, and both good films, but I mean, it's crazy to think that a director like himself hasn't made anything since The Devil's Candy. It's considering his two like flagship feature films are great.
I actually added him on Facebook recently because I wanted to like ask him what's up. Like, I would love to have him on the show. But fantastic. Yeah, I don't think he's very active on there anymore. Maybe he just doesn't accept friend requests from weirdos. But yeah,
no, I want to get Boozy's thoughts on the. I want to hear your thoughts before we get kind of in the nitty gritty. But I will generally say that I like this movie and I'm kind of excited to see what you all have to say.
Yeah, Boozy.
Okay.
And also, in your review, can you please let us know how big of a fan of Parkway Drive you were?
Oh my god!
Wow, how did you guess my very first note?
I Shazammed it.
Was it actually? Oh, how would you have to Shazam it? It's Boneyards, baby.
No, it wasn't. It was Idols and Anchors.
Oh, right.
Hey,
wow,
either way.
Boozy just fucked both of us good there.
It's off of Horizons, which is their best album by far. Oh, Kyle's dead.
I have 2 copies of Horizons on CD, compact disc. Kyle,
anyone who wants to argue with me, like, that's honestly like one of the best metalcore albums ever.
I entirely agree. I love the first couple albums, and then I recently got into Deep Blue. Like I was
not expecting the info dump. That caught me off guard.
You know, when it's things that I specifically enjoy, I will give you information, and nobody asks.
There's blood in the water.
Okay. Anyway, Let's talk about this.
was great.
This film has a little bit of history between, or running within the Terror Table, aside from Mitch, because me and Mitch kind of connected over really enjoying this movie and talking about it before the Terror Table was even an idea in Mitch's nutsack.
That's canon, for
So
the record.
yeah, in the infancy of Instagram, I posted about it, and Mitch was like instantly like, "Oh man, you like this?" And we were kind of talking about it on Facebook. We were hitting it off in the DMs. So it's been a while since I've seen it. This is, I think, my third time, and it's great. Every time I see it, I find something I enjoy about it. It's still, even though I've seen it a couple times, I know it's going to happen, and I just enjoy being taken through how it goes about everything and how it explains the story and how your characters get where they're going. I really I love this movie. I think it's fantastic, and I will be the one person to say that I think The Devil's Candy is better in this, but that's just me.
Yeah,
Interesting.
it's a very close call. I love them both. Like they're both great. But that's awesome. Well, we have a full table of love for the loved ones and Parkway Drive.
Early
Taste of
Parkway Drive.
Chaos,
We don't fuck
2010.
with the later
Good show.
shit.
No. All right. Yeah. Let's fully dig into this thing. So yeah, well, I guess I'll just get out. I love this movie. It's one of my favorite modern horror movies. I think that this is one that gets lumped in with the torture porn subgenre. And while I entirely understand that, and people are correct in saying that, I think that this might be the torture porn movie. This might be the example of a great execution of that style of film. And I think it's because the torture actually means something, and it's visceral and it hurts, and this is a painful movie to watch. It's just so goddamn effective because the actors and the performances and the tone and the atmosphere in this thing are so spot on. And it's got that great use of that pop song, the "Am I Not Pretty Enough?"
Yeah.
Hey,
Gonna get stuck
did
in.
you guys like that song?
Why
I found
I'm
it
obsessed
so
with
creepy.
yeah,
Did
but
you
that's
know
why
that song outside of the film?
no.
No, me
No.
neither.
Because it's like it does feel like they just made it for this movie because it's so
Exactly.
specific. It sounds like a weird, creepy version
Well,
of like Dawson's Creek.
Yeah.
It's like
Like if
specific,
Trent
but
Reznor
also
did it.
it's specific, but also like generic, the most generic words ever. So like,
Yeah,
Yeah.
it
it
It's
feels
kind
like
of
related
an
to
AI wrote it.
it reminds me of the throwback days to like movies like A Walk to Remember.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I think that's kind of the point, is that you have this teenage girl Lola who's just so insanely deranged, and she romanticizes herself and her effect on people, and she's like the female incel, like she's the female Joker, if you will. Um, no, sorry, I had to get it
All
in there.
right, it was
I
bound
was
to
just
happen.
misunderstood. That's it.
Yeah, no, but it's that song playing is so goddamn effective because it's just so disturbing watching what she's doing to this poor guy,
Oh
and
yeah,
her slow dancing with her dad, and the shots of glitter falling over her scrapbook and her little boom box, her CD player. It's like one of the most haunting things in recent horror. And I think the movie, honestly, is one of the scariest movies in recent years. And that's why I wanted to show it to my group of friends. And let me tell you, they were not impressed.
No.
It worked. It worked very well. But I need to learn that the loved ones isn't a great kicking off point. There's
that's
maybe
fair.
a few
That's fair.
other
It's not a
steps.
great how do you do.
Motherfuckers, they told me to scare them. They're like, well, that's not scary. It's just disturbing. I'm like, shut up. I watched you guys shudder that entire movie. Like, I was laughing my ass off because one of my favorite moments of this recent screening on that amazing sound system on that huge screen. I've seen this movie so many times, and that was the best I'd ever seen it. And it was also because I got to watch it with people experiencing it for the first time who had no idea what they were in for. So when he turns Lola down at the beginning, there was a collective, oh, like they all, and I was just like, oh fuck yes, you guys are you're sympathizing with this fucking monster, and it was so exciting watching them just like this movie tore my friends apart. They're still we did it like 3 weeks ago, and they're still talking about it. And it's like Mitch has lost his movie privileges.
Okay, as soon as you get them back, immediately be like, guys, redemption time. We're gonna watch Hounds of Love. It's gonna be great.
Or
Yeah, we'll do Martyrs next week.
Yeah. Also, Mitchell, you the music kind of adding to it. I think that the lyrics being generic enough is that you kind of get into a little bit of the headspace that your main character is in, even.
I think it's like almost like reading out her like diary thoughts, right? Like,
well, it's showing that she feels sorry for herself. Like she's so deranged that she honestly doesn't believe that she's the one that's completely fucked. She thinks it's these people who don't want to sleep with her besides her dad, which is for a discussion that we're going to get into, I'm sure, at some point. There's going to be even more incest conversation today.
Yeah.
But the biggest things I took away from this most recent watch is how gratuitous the sex scenes are. And like the teen sexuality in this movie is so damn raw. And like the camera, it doesn't pull away for a while.
It's those Aussies, man. You know?
It's uncomfortable. And it's like, but it's so effective. Like I'm never that guy who's like, and obviously who doesn't want to see, you know, underage nudity. But it's like they are teenagers, and like, you know, that's something that, you know, in movies it's historically fucked. Like you look at any American Pie movie.
Well, it sets the tone of like intimacy in a really like effective way. Like it's always there with a purpose, even though maybe you could argue it's gratuitous, I guess, but like it never feels like heavy-handed or like exploitative, I guess.
No, I feel like it kind of does reinforce that these are extremely horny teenagers and their hormones are going through the roof. That kind of, I think, tried to explain a little bit of why some characters act a certain way.
Yeah, and I don't know, it also just gives you a little sneak peek at Sean Byrne's like close-up shots that he does for so many different things, and like he gets so close in on that sex scene. And like the reason I'm putting so much emphasis on that opening sex scene is just because like it really does go on for a while. And
I noticed that too. It really is kind of uncomfortably long.
Yeah, but that's also like, you know, this was before in a time where like nudity and boobs were expected in horror movies. So it's like it almost seemed like a smart comment on nudity in horror films. And like I don't know, I feel like the nudity served a purpose, and it was just like you said, Kyle, it really displays intimacy in a really interesting way that you don't see all the time in other movies. Like the difference between this sex scene compared to the sex scene in the Friday the 13th remake, where it's like just straight up 10 minutes of hardcore porno boning. It's like that to me, that deserves to be called gratuitous more than this. But I'm just saying that this thing really does linger. And I do think it's important for the movie, and I think it makes it really successful. And it's like it turns into the most brutal teenage depressed phase of loving metalcore, smoking weed, torture, and premarital sex and cards. Like this is a tale as old as time.
It really is a classic tale. That's true.
Yeah, this is American as apple pie right here.
That's an origin story for many.
This movie is like it's the film form of an absolutely devastating metalcore lyric right before a breakdown.
I thought you were gonna say it's a film form of an absolute punk message board.
Oh my god, I forgot about Absolute Punk.
But you're right, man. It is. It kind of covers like, I guess you could say like cliche, like, or stereotypical high school, I don't know, passage through life, especially from this exact point in time, like 2009. Obviously, the three of us can like connect with like the look and music and feel of like what it meant to be a young person in high school around that time. So, I mean, it's a treat for us to kind of watch something like this because there's no way we're not going to connect with it to some extent. But that being said, like even beyond that, like the way they treat like Brent is really, really smart, because it's like, in a way, it's kind of like a slow burn. Like even like that opening, even that like sexy, not to like harp on it too much, but like that's one of the longer scenes in the film. Like, and there's not too many like slower moments in the film. There are a few, but when they do appear, it's very intentional. And I think the way that like they set it up, especially with Brent's character and how it evolves, and eventually he's literally silenced. You get a lot of visual commentary and a lot of visual storytelling in really cool ways. Because I really didn't know what to even expect with like even him turning her down at the beginning, I kind of thought that was honestly kind of out of place, to be honest. At first, I was like, oh, that's like kind of weird. This like other girl who we don't know shows up and goes away, and are we gonna see her again? Like, I don't really, except I
It
recognize
got
her
you.
because of the cover of the film. So I was like, okay, this is important. Like, I'm not dumb, but like, this seems weird. But then eventually it makes perfect sense. Like, it is kind of a little bit jarring and a little bit absurd to an extent, especially as the film goes on with like what's actually happening on screen. But in terms of like it being paced in a narrative, it's like it almost feels sporadic, but it definitely isn't. It's really really methodical and in an interesting way, and that's what I liked about this film the most, for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of this movie is it kind of seems almost like a daydream, or like a weird, not a fantasy, but like that weird part of your mind that like if somebody like turned you down and like it really pissed you off, what you would do. I think
What are
that's
those
like
called? Those thoughts you have, like what are they called? Intrusive thoughts? Is that what it's called?
right, yeah.
Yeah.
But that's what it does kind of seem like a story of. It's like, what is the
Yeah.
weirdest thing you could think of? Because it is a very straightforward story, and in terms of where it gets to, in terms of dealing with teenage emotion and stuff, like you had mentioned, and it's all broad enough that it's fairly relatable. Like anybody can be like, oh yeah, there was that person that I liked in high school that I never got a chance with, that sort of stuff, blah 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 blah. But I think there is something very interesting with that, and I also just want to mention, this is one of my favorite things. What was the buddy's best friend who was ripping
Mitch
bongs?
Oliver,
Was,
2007.
was that Mitch Oliver? Okay, so Mitch Oliver 2007 was way ahead of the time. He was way into goth girls before anybody else. He was like, that's my
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
But then he also was like, I want a goth girlfriend who kind of looks like Joey Jordison, rest in peace.
Yes. Dude, he is me. He is me.
He is legend.
She is I believe that's Carla, and she was in the Australian
The
body
Carla
horror
Homolka?
classic. No, not Carla Homolka. She was in the body horror classic Body Melt.
Oh shit.
She was a very young actor in that movie, but yeah, it's pretty crazy. I entirely agree with you though, Boozy, like that. But that dude, he's he's like the one bit of like he's the one break that we can catch as an audience. Is like
Right.
at least knowing when we're going to go to him, we're going to see a different kind of cringe, and it's going to be this guy trying to woo this girl who's so clearly um, ahead of him sexually, and it's just like it's hilarious to watch. It's cringy in like a fun way, and you're kind of rooting for him.
Yeah,
It's
and
like,
I think there's a little bit of like you
gets
can see
sweaty.
yourself in that, right?
oh, for sure. Like, you're
I
so stoked.
100% see myself in that.
Like, you went to West 49 for the first time and you just bought a Newfound Glory shirt that was in the back and like no one else really saw it,
Oh,
but you picked it out really
Huh.
quick, and
all
like you
he's
feel like
missing
you're
is
on
an
top of the
Atticus
world.
shirt. He
Or an
needs an
Atticus shirt,
Atticus
whatever it
shirt.
might be.
Yeah, but
And
that's what I was like.
yeah.
What I was saying before about like the metalcore lyric too thing is like I'm actually serious about this. That I feel like this movie has the cynicism of a Taking Back Sunday song, but if the lyrics were literal. And like
Right.
in for example, even what's the line from Taking Back You're So Last
With my
Summer?
one last gasping breath, I'd apologize for bleeding on your shirt.
The truth is you could slit my throat, and with my one last gasping breath, I'd apologize for bleeding on your shirt.
Classic.
It's like I don't know, this movie it totally is to me, and I don't mean to be blowing it out of proportion, but I do feel like this movie is just like teen melancholy poetry. Like I think this movie is poetry. It's savage. This is an extreme movie. It's hardcore, but holy fuck is this one of the most effective horror movies set around teenagers, and that's where the brunt of the genre lives.
Well, I think it has the film like has that whole angle going for it in the first half, especially, but then it really kind of becomes something else, like in a
Yeah.
lot of ways. I mean, I guess near the like the the ending of the film, it kind of returns to that form, but it does become, I guess, like torture porn or whatever you want to call it.
Mhm.
I didn't even really think of that, to be honest. Like, obviously, it's like really intense, and some of this shit is like crazy,
She's
but
dripping into his head.
I don't know though. Like, I feel like
Kind
it
of-
didn't happen so frequent that I felt like it was like I was being like onslaughted with it. Like, obviously that is disgusting and it scared the shit out of me. I honestly almost had a panic attack watching this movie. But at the same time, I don't think like something like a Martyrs or even like a Saw or whatever, where like you are kind of like like you're being berated with that. I feel like this film had enough restraint where, not
That's
that those films aren't good in their own right, but I think having that kind of restraint, maybe people would disagree with me on that, but I feel like it was there. It was able to let other things kind of breathe in, and kind of like it would break to the B plot of like almost like a comedy scene happening, and like and that for me was actually a really nice moment of levity, and like
yeah.
all in all those things like work together in a really well paced manner.
I think the other elements when it's not so serious kind of feel like more of a realistic Superbad in a way, because it is like
Sure,
something
yeah.
that would happen
No,
anyways. I also
absolutely.
thought, and Kyle, back me up on this possibly, every time they had, so you know, like the Not Pretty Enough song or whatever, they'd play that quite a bit and have like these little montages. Like there was specifically the one where she's like circling people in the yearbook, and but like
Yeah.
did it not feel like you just got transplanted into like the newer seasons of Degrassi just
Oh
for a
yeah.
little bit?
Totally.
That's
For
all I
sure,
felt
for sure.
with like I don't know. I just all of it,
It's like
even the way it's
playful.
shot, because yes, it's so much different from everything else, and obviously, like it's to give you a little bit of a break and kind of make you realize that this is still like a child basically in this
Right.
body, and also just being like wild and insane. I
Like it's not
do kind of.
humanizing her, but it's like kind of grounding the situation of what
Well,
she's
because she
thinking.
is like a person at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Yes, she's doing horrible things, but yeah, it's kind of giving you like a little bit of that, like, this isn't a monster. This is a very fucked up person, I
Right.
guess, to take it
Well,
away
because
from like,
yeah, at that point you don't know about the bodies in the basement and all
Yeah.
the other people that she's done this to. You just think that like maybe because it's prom night, it seems like this is like a special occasion. Like why would she have been doing this before for any other reason? Which does make the previous times make a little less sense, but at the same
Yeah.
time, there's not a lot of sense in this type of depravity to begin with.
I was
Exactly.
wondering if it was like an orphan scenario or something where like she just would go to different schools but be the same age all the time.
I was honestly happy that we never
Good
got
idea.
like an explanation. That was one thing I was really happy didn't happen, because I was like, I don't really like this. This person's just fucked up. I don't need to know why they're fucked up, to be honest with you.
Yeah, the bright eyes was enough for us to
Yeah.
like
Another
her
emo reference.
exactly like it's crazy, and like that's obviously her mom, who's also like just a bunch of lobotomies in this movie. And like let me tell you, like that hammer to the dick scene, where it doesn't obviously actually end up going there, but like that thing comes pretty quick in the movie. And let me tell you, that scene destroys. Like watching my friends watch that scene was so much fun. It was
Was it
so
crowd pleaser?
enjoyable.
They came
Yeah.
pretty quick.
Oh, he's crying. He's crying.
Oh my god.
Mitch, I don't know how much like you've looked into behind the scenes stuff on or not, or any sort of commentary. Has Robin McLeavy, is it McLeavy? Did she ever say what her inspiration for her character was? Because I know she has like there's a very Dahmer moment with the drill and the hot water, but obviously that is a writing decision, not her own. So I'd just love to like where she pulled this from, or if she was just having like a Taylor Swift moment. Do you know what I mean? Like she was just
Yeah,
listening to
this
it and
was
just
her
being like,
rant.
"Fuck,
Yeah,
man," you know?
yeah, yeah. No, I don't know anything about that. But come to think of it, you just made me feel like more of a human now. That I didn't even think of the Jeffrey Dahmer comparison, because that's totally what he did. And that gives
Well,
me
because
hope
they
for
even
Bill.
mentioned like the zombies thing, and I was just like, "Oh, that's a Dahmerism."
Yeah, and then you got the characters from The Descent living underneath her floorboards.
Yeah.
Uh,
Okay. So what? I didn't understand that. Not that I didn't understand it fully, but did they just instantly, yeah, turn into descent monsters? And anytime anything gets thrown down there, they're just
They
like,
just chew on
they
it.
had to
yeah,
keep like they were lobotomized. Is that a word?
lobotomized. Oh wait, okay.
Lobotomized?
So they're, but that just like turns them into monsters?
Yeah, the whole
You
zombie
had no
thing.
way.
The zombie thing is the one thing I didn't like about the movie, to be honest with you. That's what kind of knocked this thing down for me. Cause
I can
like
understand that.
Yeah,
I
it's
still
just
love
there was just like a pile, like a shrine of dead boyfriend, like skeleton bone, like skeleton
it.
bones.
If,
That would probably like have done it for me. You didn't
couldn't
need
but
to
I
agree
have
more.
did,
the.
That's exactly what I thought.
yeah, and I did like that she had done this to a guy, like a white guy with dreads,
Well, you have to.
the
They all
people
deserve it.
upstairs. Yeah, they all deserve this.
Do you think they
Sure, white
asked
shirt
them
red.
to like do it faster because she was playing that fucking song?
Maybe.
They were probably telling her to pick it up because they like stop.
Hey, can we pick up the pace here?
Pick it up, pick it up, pick it up.
There was a couple things though, like I think there was 2 moments for sure where for some reason the shot is in slow-mo, and I really fucking hated that. Like when he's opening up the toolbox to grab the drill, it goes to like 4 frames a second for some reason, and it's super weird. That took me out of it. Like that kind of shit
see
doesn't
that
usually
myself.
bug me that much, but like especially when a film is kind of like starting to feel flawless, and then something like that happens, it does take me out of it.
Okay,
Yeah.
I know, like I just watched this, and can you guys maybe clarify a scene for me? Maybe I just didn't get it. Where was that kid? Like, was he in his backyard climbing a fucking mountain and got like that
good question.
confused me
Talking about when
because
he was
then
gonna kill himself.
yeah, was he like I couldn't tell because
Yeah,
then
he's trying to
the
kill himself.
dog
He's
gets
cutting himself.
home.
I thought
He
it
was
wasn't
cutting
even
himself
like
listening to Parkway Drive, and he was gonna go jump off the cliff.
I
Because he
actually
holds
thought
himself responsible for his dad dying. Let me explain this movie to you, simpletons.
Well, no, because but like if you're gonna go kill yourself, why would you like hold on when you start slipping? I don't know. It's
exactly.
just
Different
like
strokes, man.
I actually thought it was like a recurring thing for him. I thought that was kind of like something he does, like
his
almost
like
like
spot.
But yeah,
it's like his spot,
Yeah.
like almost not that like he planned on killing himself in that actual moment, but like he does that as like fuck, what's the word? Like he does it to push himself over the edge, but never all the way the edge. Does that make
'Cause, like,
sense?
I was
Yeah.
just trying to figure out. I was like, man, does this guy have a fucking like canyon in his backyard he can just go climb
Like,
around in?
We don't get
Australia.
Australia, man. We have
Yeah,
igloos. They
whatever
have
the fuck they
mountains.
do in Australia. Maybe that's like the most normal thing ever.
No, like that's such a huge comment on the movie too. Is that like he starts the first 20 minutes of the movie is us showing, or the filmmakers showing us that he's suicidal and he wants to kill himself from what he did. Like he feels responsible for killing his dad. And he spends the first 20 minutes of the movie being all sullen, cutting himself to Parkway Drive, almost jumping off cliffs a bunch. And then he spends the rest of the movie in survival mode, trying
Yeah.
to live, trying to overcome it.
Mhm.
And it's like, and you see how hard he struggles. And speaking of which, that Xavier, I keep forgetting his name, but Xavier, the actor, his scream is just unbelievable. Like
Mhm.
I want to know if they altered that and posted all, because it's like nails on a chalkboard listening to that guy scream, and like that is so important in a movie like this to have it be like it was so blood curdling and it hurt. Like it was so effective.
He's a great actor. He's in like this somewhat obscure
What?
drama called 237. It's a film about these high school students. It's like I think 6 stories or something, and they all like intertwine together at like 2:37 p.m. And I literally forgot about this film, but I really enjoy it. And looking him up, I totally forgot he's in it, and he's awesome in that movie. He's
I'm honestly
also
surprised
in the
you
Twilight Saga.
I thought
yeah,
he was fantastic in this.
mention Eclipse. But
Oh.
yeah, he is really good in this. Him and like all of the actors are very, very good in it. But yeah,
How did you guys feel about the mom? That was kind of like a slow building story that
right.
they kind of like breadcrumbed you for it.
Mhm.
Yeah,
And
there's
it
tons
just
of
kind
breadcrumbs
of
in this
sucks
movie.
that there was no like well, I guess there kind of was a comeuppance, but not like directly from like her point of view. Do you know what I mean?
Like she didn't get to fight back. No, she was already too far
Or
gone.
even really like throw a wrench in the thing. She's just kind of like, I'm over here.
Well, it just goes to show how manipulative Lola
Yeah.
was, where she's trying to get her dad was more in love with her than he was his own wife, and she was so fucking destroyed and manipulative. And yeah, like even I don't know, like this is a little off topic from what you're talking about just now, but like it just made me think of that sex scene again. Like the little nugget of him. I'm sorry for even saying
It's
nugget.
sex time.
It's come time,
All
baby.
all the extra sexual tension from John last week has really rubbed off, literally.
So true. No, but okay, so like there's like the little nugget of him taking forever to tell his girlfriend who asked him to the prom, and like during that sex scene is so clever. Like I don't know, I thought because that's obviously also why her mind doesn't go immediately to that when she's like, oh, where's my prom date, and
Right.
why isn't he here? And it also gave him a chance to extend that sex scene a little bit more. And I know Kyle really appreciated that.
Hey, speak for yourself, buddy.
But yeah, I don't know. I just feel like how every character experiences some form of torment. Like there's the mother, the emo friend who loves deathcore, Brent, Mia who thinks that her love stood her up for prom. Like I don't know, I just think that there's a lot of little nuances in here that make it a truly great horror movie. Where it's not just this isn't just a torture porn movie or just something gross, which is what some of my friends they felt that it was just more disturbing for being disturbed for disturbing's sake. And I entirely disagree. But
No,
I
there
don't
is
have
something.
the time or the crayons to explain it to them. So
There is kind of like is that kind of like mean-spirited thing going on near the end, which I usually actually don't fucking like. I don't like that kind of stuff usually. But for some reason, the way since it's kind of like contained within those two characters, and they're like so obviously like evil, to me it works because it kind of plays off on like I don't know, I guess like a good and evil dynamic, and their like actual presence on screen is like so boisterous and so kind of zany and not quite over the top, but borderline over the top. And because of that, it's hard for me to really kind of like see them as like bad people because I don't see them as people at all, basically. And for me, that really worked because especially like I know we were talking about when she was like scribbling in like or she's looking through like magazine clippings or whatever, and like the nice music's playing. But when we actually get that scene, we've already seen her look at him like pass out in the truck, so we already know she's kind of crazy. Like something's not totally right. And it like I think it cuts to that scene next. I could be wrong of her like in her room like hanging out, and immediately it's like you're getting like a compare and contrast of like two completely different like mindsets, and that's when this film becomes something completely different. And it kind of it takes that melodrama from like maybe the first half and it mixes it with something that's like purposely intense in a way that I don't really know if I've seen anywhere else because it is like it's kind of fun in a way. Like it's a hard watch, but it's like there's some like there's sort of like moments of like disgusting playfulness that like that kind of deranged playfulness that is hard to look away from.
Yeah,
she reminds me of like Angela from Rugrats.
We are experiencing technical difficulties. Please stand by.
Wonderful.
Bravo!
I loved that.
Oh, it was great.
Well, it was pretty good.
Well, it wasn't bad.
Well, there were parts of it that weren't very good, though.
It could have been a lot better.
I didn't really like it.
It was pretty terrible.
It was bad.
It was awful.
It was terrible.
Get him away!
Hey, boo!
Boo!